Hey, Rick, let's talk a little bit about grinders, you know, and basically how you operate a grinder and what's the reason that you're using this grinder today.
You got lots of torque in it, stainless steel blade, different cutting plates. We've got coarse, medium, and fine. Now, most time when we're grinding, I'm using coarse. That's
Right.
about what most of us are used to when we get our hamburger. So why don't we go ahead and get started, if you don't mind putting that meat lug underneath there.
Okay.
And we've taken that hind quarter, we've quartered up the meat. I'm just gonna hold this up for everybody to see here. I've got a piece that's about, I'd say 2 inches by 2 inches. That's about the right size no matter what grinder you're using. Now what we didn't have time to do today, and I would recommend for anybody else doing this, I like to freeze it. If I freeze this, I'll put this in my freezer for a good couple hours, get it nice and solid. And what that does is when we go down into the grinder itself, we have an auger inside. That auger it basically looks kind of like a spiral, and those spirals get tighter and tighter, pushing that meat up against the cutting blade and the cutting plate. If it's frozen, it has more to bite into, and it pushes up against that cutting plate.
Yeah.
It keeps the meat cold through the whole process and does a much nicer job. I don't care what grinder you're using, you're gonna find that that's gonna be a really helpful hint.
That's another good tip, I'll tell you that.
So should we give her a shot?
Sure.
So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on.
Sounds like she's got some power.
Why don't you go ahead and feed them in there, Larry?
Okay.
I'm just gonna stop for a moment and say, now you see what I'm doing is I'm really just guiding the meat down into.
You're not really pushing heavy.
I'm not
on it.
really pushing. Now, if something gets hung up, yeah, I can kind of push it through. But what you don't see me doing is breaking a sweat, trying to push that stuff down there as fast as possible. And what that results in is we're getting a nice grind here.
That's consistent.
It's consistent.
Very
It's
consistent.
not mush. What we don't want is basically pate. And if you're looking for pate, sure, go grab that liver and make pate. But what we want is a nice hamburger grind like that, and that's what we're getting. Now, again, all we're doing is venison right now. It depends on what we're going to use this for afterwards. What I'll typically do is grind pure venison on this grind, and then I'll add a pork grind to it, and I'll regrind it. Now, if I want to make a sausage, I'll add my seasoning at that point. If I want to make jerky, I'm going to add a little bit less pork to it if I'm going to make a quick jerky using ground meat. So really, I like to do a pure venison grind in the first round, and then after that, I'm deciding what I'm going to use my ground venison for, and I'm going to mix it with my higher fat content meat to try to get that fat content up to where it works better with sausage or even in ground meat.
Boy, that is tearing that right up.
Now, Larry, one of the things I didn't talk about, because quite frankly, we did a really good job of getting all that silver skin off, is that any good grinder is going to have a reverse function. So there's times where you might get a little piece of bone in there, you might get some tallow, well, not tallow, but if you get some ligaments in there,
Right.
and it wraps up and it stops grinding, and all of a sudden you just see it's not feeding through. What you do is just hit this little reverse.
And it just backs it back around.
Backs it back out. Now, I typically just reverse it once. Now, if it's a bone, you can hear it. But if it's just a little bit of silver skin in there, I'll back that off, and then I'll regrind again. And usually that clears it out, and that way we don't have to take everything apart.
Okay. Hey, Rick, let's show everybody the difference of the meat that you cleaned up before taking all the silver skin off and how good it looks in here, ground up the first time. And let's run that through the grinder. I can definitely hear the grinder working harder.
Yes,
for
you can.
sure.
Yep.
Wow. You can see the difference big time.
just going to hold this up for the camera to show. Now, look at the difference between the two. You can see this is what we ground first.
Right.
You can see there's really no silver skin. There's no tallow in it.
Yep.
And this is what we just ground. Now it's less red. It has you can see a lot of that silver
That's
skin is
typically
grounded.
what mine looks like, Rick. I can tell you that's probably why my wife does not like to eat the hamburger.
And I'm gonna let you know right now.
Right.
That's going to taste a lot more gamey than this will take.
If you're having problems getting lucky with the ladies, maybe you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel down below.